really happy to be here. So let me introduce myself to everybody. I think it's 5 o'clock now. I'm already sufficiently sweating, so this seems perfect. I'm Jeremy. I am the new director here at Yosemite Lakes Park. I'm very happy to be here. I just arrived here. My first day on the property was March 18th, and so I've just been here a couple of weeks. When I was hired, I was still at my job in North Carolina, where I worked. My family is still in North Carolina. They're going to be coming up here at the end of the summer, or at the end of the school year, and then we're going to kind of find out where we're going to permanently live. So for now, I'm a bachelor, and not all it's cracked up to be. There's a lot of things that I forgot how to do on my own, apparently. So it's been a growth project for me these last few weeks. But what's that? You can't hear me? Oh, okay. All right. Let's make sure folks can hear me back there. All right, very good. Okay, so let's do this. I know some of you might have questions. Also, I've only been here a couple weeks, so I know a lot. I've tried to learn as much about the community as I can in the 2 weeks that I've been here, but I don't know everything. And so I'll try to answer questions about that. If you want to ask questions a little bit about me or my thoughts on the way, the direction or anything like the way I manage, anything like that, that's fine. But all I ask is that if you come up, that you just introduce yourself, and you come over here and you introduce yourself and tell everybody your name and what street you're on, I guess, and then ask your question if you have a question. So feel free. Not all at once. No questions. All right, thanks for coming. Have a good night, everybody. Appreciate you being here. So I'll tell you a little about myself then, I guess, till anybody has a question. I'll tell you about myself. So this is probably, I've been almost 10 years in the community association industry. Before this, I worked a very fun job. I worked for Carnival Cruise Lines. I traveled around, had a real hospitality background, met my wife out there. That's where she and I fell in love and got married and spent some time out there. When I came onto land, I found my way into association management through kind of doing activities and events and things like that. And so I've been, in the last 3 years, I've been in the DFW area, Dallas-Fort Worth. I have been in the Raleigh, North Carolina triangle, and then now I'm here at YLP. And so that's what I've been doing. I have a wife. We've been married almost 20 years, and I have a daughter. She'll be 5 in 2 weeks. Don't do the math. I know. So anyway, if anybody has questions, feel free. Yes. Yes, sir. 2 questions. Yes, come on up here. Let's find out who you are. Come on up. Let's find out who you are. Everybody wants to know you, sir. Ooh. Working out all the kinks now. This is perfect. Hey, Robert.
I'm Robert Gross, and I live on Rivas Circle West. I'm also known as the Bird Man. I take all the photos of the birds and publish.
Robert's the Bird Man. He takes photos of all the birds.
Okay. So 2 questions. I'll ask them both and then let you elaborate, please. The first one is, I think, an easy one. Can you elaborate a little bit about how Grand Manors will go about enforcing the CC&Rs? And second of all, you've been here 2 weeks. I'd like to know if you've had a chance to look at our budget and if you have some thoughts on how we're going to be able to pay for all the expenses that are now gone onboarded here without raising our association dues. That's the hard one. And thank you. Welcome to our association. Okay.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Okay, so let's go back to your first question, and I'm thinking about your second question, the hard one, so give me the easy one more time. CC&Rs, how we're going to enforce the CC&Rs. So let me tell you this. I feel like I keep breathing in the mic, I'm sorry. The first thing that I want to tell you about enforcement, about CC&Rs, about things like that is I prefer that these things be standard. I prefer that these things be uniform, and I prefer that these things be consistent and easy to understand, right? So what I don't want is I don't want any enforcement or anything to go forward where a homeowner feels like they either A, don't understand the problem, B, don't have the resources to solve the problem. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't move things forward. We have to. There's a process involved. But what I do want to make sure is that everybody feels like they receive the same treatment throughout the entire process, right? So it's the same for you as it is for you, as it is for anybody else in this community, regardless of who they are, who they know. The process of enforcement is the same. And the one thing I say about enforcement is this is the one challenge where I think HOAs really get. I understand. I've seen the commercials. I know the business. When you work in the HOA business, trust me, it's not something you tell people at parties. You're not like, hey, I manage HOAs, right? You get a lot of jokes when that comes out. So it's not something that, I get it. I understand that that's it, right? And I know this may sound trite, but it's what I told the staff my very first meeting with my team. And it's not us versus you. It's not you versus us. It's us versus the problem, right? And so my goal is, number one, I need to be able to, and when I say I'm talking about my team in general, us as a whole, a group, the association staff that work here. So we need to be able to, one, clearly explain the issue. Two, if we can't come up with a solution that works, if we can't agree with your solution, then we need to find a solution that works, right? Something that you can be okay with, but also that fits within inside the rules of the community. My job, as I view it, is to make sure we follow the rules and to say yes as much as I can. But in instances where I can't say yes, I want to be able to tell you why, and I want to be able to work to find a solution that is comparable and that works and that helps, okay? So that's kind of how I approach governance. I think that a clear policy with clear guidelines that everybody understands, and understanding that we are not here to punish people. We are only here to make sure that people do what needs to be done that are the rules of the community. It's not punitive. It's none of that. It is simply just a tool to make sure that things get done the way they're supposed to. That's the way I view it. Okay, the other one. So this is an interesting time for me to come into your association. We are right at budget season. The budget is due here in a few weeks. I'm not going to lie, it's challenging. It's a big ask. It's a heavy lift to come in and do a budget within, just a couple of weeks. Fortunately, of the skills that I think I possess, I think budgeting is one of my better skills. I would also tell you that, is the budget going to be perfect that we come up with? Probably not. But it's a tool, right? Budgets don't have to be perfect. They're just a tool to help us get to where we want to go. We're going to learn a lot in this budget cycle. We're going to learn a lot as we gain history throughout the next 12 to 14 months of financial statements and information, and we get those records established. As far as raising assessments, I can tell you that my first and foremost goal is, I don't ever want to raise assessments. There's no desire. There's no appetite for that. No manager ever looks at a board and says, guess what, guys? We get to ask for more money today. Nobody likes that. It's a terrible conversation. It's not easy, but it's necessary sometimes. I don't feel comfortable asking for anything extra yet until I know what we can do with what we have, right? And so my general feeling as I look at your financials and as I look at the budget, my general feeling is that we've got some work to do, but that there's no need. I think that we can redeploy resources in a more effective manner is what I think. And so I believe that one of the things that we're struggling with a lot as an association right now, or have been in the past, is the traditional make versus buy decision. I think that we spend a lot of time with labor and things where maybe we should look at contracting elsewhere at places. I think there's some other times when, maybe in-house labor is a better way to go. It all just depends on what our specialties are. If we need fences fixed and none of my guys really know how to use a fence, fix fences, it doesn't really make sense for me to spend time or resources on sending them out to fix fences. We'll just go get a contractor. And I think learning when we make those decisions is going to help. I think redeploying the staff dollars a little bit, making sure that they go, I think that there's a lot of manpower at YLP, right? There's more manpower at this in this association than any I've ever managed before in terms of personnel. It's a large association with a lot of personnel. I think there's plenty of personnel to do what we want, to do it better, and to be more effective. And I think that through some efficiencies, we may be able to take some of those dollars and take them from one location to another. Now, again, I haven't made a budget yet, but I've got a budget coming up that's due. I've got budget workshops scheduled with the board on the 20th, and then again on the 27th of this month, and then we'll get the budget out for everybody in April. So we are going to be meeting those deadlines in time for the annual meeting. So the answer to your question is, I don't believe there is probably a need to raise assessments this period, this fiscal year. I can't say that for sure until I've actually gone, fine-tooth comb through the budget. But my general feeling is that we'll probably be fine, and that I think before we do anything else, we need to make sure that we're using our resources effectively. I went back to, I don't know how many of you, your college careers took a path similar to mine, but I got my undergraduate degree when I was like 18, went to college, got my bachelor's degree, and then like 20 years later, I went back and got my MBA. And when I got my MBA, I was actually working in this industry, and one of the people that they give you all the time in business school. And when you're working in the industry, when you're an adult, when you're doing school, it's different. When you're 18, it's just a blur, right? And you're like, oh, that was fun. When you're 40 or 35, you're like, oh, I remember all this stuff, and you retain a lot more information, right? One of the folks that they always point us to in business school is a guy named Jim Collins, and one of the things that he always talks about is getting people in the right seats on the bus. And I think that's the number one thing that I have to do right now, is that before we can go anywhere, I have to make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be, and then we can start going forward. And so that's the number one thing that we're working on with my team right now, is finding out where everybody needs to be, where everybody needs to go, and then we can redeploy those assets in a better way. Hopefully that helps. My team? So what's your name? Beth, and what street are you on, Beth? Lot 843. All right, Beth from lot 843. All right, very good. Going once, going twice. I don't know. That's new to me. All right. Sorry. I'm from Texas. Everything becomes a cattle auction. What can I say? So who is my team? So essentially, everybody who is not the water company on this property is ultimately my team. The buck stops with me. We have different department heads. We have different people who manage subgroups. But yes, if it is not the water company, it is my team. They were the ones that were here when I got here. So I haven't changed anybody since I arrived. So I'm not sure who changed in the interim. I think most of the department heads are the same, but I do know there has been a couple, but I think most of them are the same. Yes, sir. Hey, Steve from lot 487. How can I help?
Okay, you're talking about your team. How many of your team are here locally, and how many of your team are back in Texas?
Sure. So let me just say this. This is challenging, right? So in Texas, there are dozens of people who touch the account every day, right? There are accountants, there are VPs, there are, homeowner services, there are people in the mailroom, there are dozens of people, shared services is what we call it in the industry. And there's dozens of people who touch the account. Honestly, I have no idea how many people that is. What I will tell you is that my sphere of influence, really, and where I can exert the most positive effect is with the in-house team here, right, and with the on-the-ground staff here. And so one of the things that I did when I first came was just started something basic, like having staff meetings with them and making sure that messaging was getting across and making sure to address concerns and things like that. And so on site, we probably have a team of close to around 80 people. Back in Texas, I think that's probably, a couple hundred, but the people who I will work with in Texas is probably closer to like 5 to 10 who I'll know on a first name basis and deal with a lot. Mostly accountings or executives for YLP.
The reason I ask that is, before you got here, we had a lot of people may have been in this position. This communication as to their assessments and things like that, and a lot of that came, we think, from your prior state. I'm a California boy, so Texas is just another big open space to me. So that's, I think, that's a lot on the people's mind here is, the financial team isn't really here so much. It's back east.
Texas is back east. That's funny. All right. I've never heard that before. All right. Sure. So what's the concern though? So like, for example, we're the ones who pay we pay the bills, we review the financials. That's all done in-house, right? So I have an accountant who helps me. I'm not a CPA. So I have a CPA who helps me do the work to put together the balance sheets and the income statements and make sure that we follow GAAP. Is that the kind of thing that, did we have CPAs before that were helping with that?
Well, we have a CPA here.
Okay.
That takes care of our books and things
Okay.
like that. But I'm talking about, the day-to-day type stuff. Like I said, a lot of people here got bills for $4,000 or $5,000 assessment bills, and they're paid up.
Sure.
And that, I guess.
And did it get corrected?
Or something like that.
Did it get corrected?
I think some people still have a.
Okay, well, if you feel like it hasn't been corrected, let's take a look at it and let's fix it.
I don't have a problem. My bills, I don't have anything owed and stuff like that. It's just, you see a lot of things on Facebook where people got bills for $8,000, $9,000, and they say, wait a second, what the heck is this?
Sure. And so here's the thing. The reality of any business is nobody's perfect, right? Mistakes happen, things happen, especially now.
First impressions make a big deal around here.
Sure.
That's the problem, if that hadn't happened, people would probably be a lot more ingenious.
Not a lot I can do about that now, is there, Steve? All right. So the good news is that from this point forward, I can work to try to earn people's trust, and I can work hard. And so, in a standard, let me just back up kind of the process for everybody. In a standard transition, when one management company comes in and takes in from another management company, there's two transition teams. One on the outgoing company and one on the incoming company. And you know what the incoming company gives us? Clean and pristine records. You know what we got from the previous management? Not clean and pristine records. So it takes some time to work through those things. So if people want to be critical, that's fine. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. I can't do anything about people say on Facebook. I can't do anything about comments that people make regardless of what the actual facts are. People are going to say what they're going to say. All I can do is work hard, earn trust, be a good team member, be a good leader for the staff, set a great example and work hard for the homeowners, and hopefully take care of this place in a way that it seems like it maybe hasn't been taken care of previously, and make sure that the things that you've been paying to have maintained are being maintained. And so, again, whether I'm from Texas or whether I'm from Timbuktu, it doesn't matter. People are going to either be okay with me being here or they're not, and all I can do is do my best, but I can own mistakes of the past, but in fact, I do. I own the mistakes of the past, but I'm not responsible for the mistakes of the past. So that's about all I can say. All right, we're recording this, so can folks please come up here and ask questions so that we can get this on video for the folks who are online? Hi.
Hi, Sandy, 2142. Just a couple of questions moving forward, trying to move us forward, to communication, where it relates to the portal. In looking at pretty little pie charts, we don't know the financials. It's giving us, this account has this much, this account has this much. We don't know where some of those accounts came from. And we also don't know the effective date of those accounts. Are those accounts January 1, or are they March 1st, or are they today, or are they 6 months ago. We don't know. So some clarifications, communication about those financials that are being provided, which is wonderful that you're providing them. It's great that we get pretty pie charts. But if there's no context to that information, it's irrelevant.
Understood. Is that the only question?
The question is, what's the date of the effective of those pie charts
Sure.
that I see right now
Sure.
on the portal?
So, okay, perfect. So, as I'd said, we didn't get clean records, right? So we have, I don't know when a financial has been produced for YLP, but I know it's been a while. And so we are producing a financial. We produced a financial for February 2021, which is the first financial that YLP has produced this year, and we've done it for YLP. And so that financial will be presented at tonight's board meeting. And once we have gone through it with the board and at the meeting and everybody's understood, that February financial will be posted to your account. And you'll be able to see a snapshot of everything from February 28th, 24, okay? So that's what the snapshot will be once we preload that.
Of 2024.
Correct. February 28th, 2024.
Thank you.
Okay, now that's when the financial will be posted, but we'll present the numbers tonight. Yes.
Hi, I'm Leon. We live on 1875.
Hey, Leon.
Seminole Drive, 1875. My biggest problem living here, and it's not really a problem for us because we pay our bills, is the people that are not paying their association fees,
Sure.
and we're subsidizing them
Sure.
because it's everybody uses the roads. We're
Absolutely.
subsidizing them in many, many ways.
Absolutely.
We're paying the salaries of you, your team.
Correct.
How are we going to enforce that?
Sure. So we're going to use the tools that are available to us by the state of California and within the governance of YLP. And essentially, we are going to start working a collection process that is legal and that is required, and one that I believe YLP started late last year. We're going to continue on that. So realistically, for an association of this size, I would expect to see delinquency probably in somewhere the 5% range, where you have maybe 5 to 7% of your owners that are between 30 and 60 days. Our agings are significantly higher than that. We have to work on getting those down. And so you do that through a number of ways. First of all, you ask nicely, and then if that doesn't work, then you pay people to ask less nicely, and then if that doesn't work, then you start looking at judicial foreclosures and liens and things like that to get the monies that are owed. But the reality is, and this is the one thing that I think is pretty important, a lot of times when people talk about an HOA, they talk about their dues. Understand this. Dues are optional. Assessments are mandatory. And so in a YLP, we pay assessments as opposed to dues. They are mandatory, and so we do collect those. And you're right. It is not fair for people who pay to have to subsidize those who don't. And so getting the association's debtors current is one of our primary goals.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Jeremy, it's nice to meet you.
Hi.
I'm Susan Corcoran, lot 1770 on Long Hollow.
Hi, Susan. There we go.
I'm president of Ladies of the Lakes.
Hi.
And we want to get to know you better.
Sure.
You need to get to know us.
Sure.
So I'm going to, on behalf of the members here tonight, we'd like to extend an opportunity for you to come to our meeting on April 15.
Okay.
I'll fit you into the schedule whenever you show up. We start at 9:30, and we usually are through by 11. If you can't make that on the night of the 16th of April and the entire day of the 16th of April, we will be arranging for preparing food, serving food for our famous rigatoni dinner, which you've probably heard of. You've probably seen Darcy's great flyer. Ken is going to be one of the cooks, Ken Sartain. It's going to be a delicious dinner. We've been doing this forever. So if you can fit that into your bachelor schedule,
Well,
we'll probably comp you.
Well, let me say this. I would love to come, but I will tell you that I will be in North Carolina. I'm going back. My daughter turns 5 years old in a couple of weeks, and so I'm going back for the birthday party. So I'm going to be gone from the 9th to the 17th, or from the 10th through the 17th in North Carolina. But she's turning 5, and so we promised her she'd get her ears pierced. So I'm taking her to get her ears pierced when I go back home. So
all right. Well,
but I will definitely come. I want to.
Oh, you can come to the May meeting.
Okay.
There's the May meeting.
Let's talk. I'll come in
Okay.
May. We'll get it on
All
my
right.
calendar.
Invitation will be extended via email.
Very good.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, I'm not going to look at. Oh, hello, sir. How are you?
Hi, Bob Gann.
Hey, Bob.
Up on Lookout, I think 2130, and
Okay.
welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I've been able to work for city, county, state, and federal agencies.
Okay.
Okay. The farther away you get from where you are, the longer it takes to get an answer. I say this because we started a very active neighborhood watch group. We've been here 10 years, so 9 years ago. It started out with, I was supposed to have like once a quarter. No, that went to like twice a year. No, it's once a year, but it's pretty active. And I get the speakers to come. It's been Sheriff's Department, Game Warden, Critter Creek, security's always. Well, this time I wanted to get fire. So I called here, and I said, hey, can I get a hold of your volunteer fire chief? And, oh, no, we got to go through the channels, and here's the email. And like, really? He's just, okay. So I went ahead and called CAL FIRE. They're happy to, okay. But I wanted to start local and ask these guys to come, and then maybe CAL FIRE. I think the connection, it's almost like the feds. Like, we got to check with Washington. Like, okay. You know, instead of, we got to check upstairs.
Right.
So,
Sure.
elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, so let me say this. I'm not exactly sure on the specific situation you're talking about. I'd like to find out more about it afterwards. But what I will say is that one of the reasons that a board hires somebody like me to manage the association is because boards need to focus on being boards, right? And boards come up with overarching, themes, and they come up with our strategy and our direction. They approve major purchases and large contracts. But in any given day around YLP, there are hundreds, thousands of decisions that need to be made, right? And we can't go to the board for every single decision, otherwise nothing would get done. So we establish processes and policies and procedures and things to put those in place. To that end, two things that I want to say. Number one is I feel like it's really important as the executive director for YLP to act not as the chief executive. We have a chief executive with a board president, but I am to act as an executive for this association. I need to make decisions that are on the best interest of the association. I need to fight battles sometimes on behalf of the association. There are times when we need to do things that maybe aren't pleasant on behalf of the association, right? It happens all the time. I say all that to say is that what I mentioned before is I can't be responsible for other things that happened before I got here, but I own things that happen, right? And so I own, and when I say own, what I mean is obviously ownership. You get what I'm saying? My sphere of responsibility, what I own, right? I own these decisions, right? I own. It's up to me to ensure that these things get done the right way. And so one of the things that I'm working really hard on and putting into practice is not only working with my team on hospitality, but also working with them on accountability, upon decision making, upon independent thinking, upon things like that. And so what I would say is I don't like the idea, especially when we're out here, it's really challenging of having to depend on people that are far away, right? So I'd like to decentralize and have as much of that here as possible, right? Or have as much of that here as we can. But I also want to make sure that after I go, if I get hit by a bus, I don't want every bit of progress that we made to stop, right? So that's why we have to manage by policy, and we have to put these things in place. And so I want to find out more about it, see if it's something I can address and how we can avoid something like that in the future, hopefully, is kind of where I was trying. It was a long way to get there, sorry. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Paul Hall.
Hey, Paul.
I'm lot 1176.
Very good.
So you and I had a conversation last week.
We did.
Yeah.
We did indeed.
And you were kind enough to return my call.
Yes, sir.
I made several attempts to contact the staff here or anybody that could answer the question when the last time we had an aerobics inspection done.
Yes, sir.
And you informed me that that was more than likely December.
Yes, sir.
So I suggested to you that I wasn't exactly thrilled with paying for the $5 a month for services I did not receive, and there's quite a few people that feel the same way.
Yes, sir.
Your response to me was, that's fine, you don't have to pay it. We'll be happy to send you to collections.
That's not my response, but
That
continue.
was your response, sir.
But continue.
Okay. All right. And then I suggested to you that you perhaps talk to the board about relieving the homeowners of those 3 months of assessments.
Yes, sir.
You said you'd do that. I did not see that on the agenda. One, have you spoken with the board or anyone about that yet?
No, sir. It is not on today's agenda.
Okay.
I have spoken with them about our conversation, but it is not on the agenda.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And then the second thing is, during the course of our conversation, you made a statement that you were, I believe you said, familiar with people like me. I would like you to explain to the community here what it is you know about me and how familiar you are with me. And then I also explained to you that I am a single homeowner, but there are a lot of homeowners that happen to agree with some of the things that I believe as well. So I'd like for you to explain to the community what people like me or people like us are and what you know about us.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. So I think that's a little bit of a mischaracterization of our conversation, but my version of the conversation and your version of the conversation are certainly open to interpretation, I would imagine. So what I meant and what I said, and I believe I clarified this, was in most communities I manage, well, actually in every community I manage, there's usually somebody who starts I guess for lack of a better word, an unhappy Facebook page, right? It's a place to air gripes. It's a place to air anger. It's a place to be. It's not a space that I choose to live in, right? And I know some people choose to. And you see it in every association. There are folks that they call it YLP Uncensored. Other folks call it whatever after dark. Some people call it this ever X square. It doesn't matter what it is. Every association has a page of people who are unhappy and who want to complain about a lot of things. I'll tell you this. I can't manage to Facebook. I can't manage to social media. I can't manage to Nextdoor. You can say whatever you want on social media. You can say whatever you want on Facebook. I can't manage to that. All I can do is manage to the people who come to us and ask for help. So, if people want to continue to occupy a negative space in social media, that's their business. Nothing I can do about that. If people want to give me a little time to get my arms around YLP and understand the problems and just see if in a few months, if things aren't a little bit better than they are now, let's just see. But to wholly and completely dismiss me, my move across the country to actively root for my failure is out of line and unacceptable. And if you think that I should sit there and be okay with that, I'm not going to be. So if you want to bully anybody else, you can, but you cannot bully me. Damn, I need a drink. All right. Kidding. All right, what time is it? It is 5:30? What time is it? 5:30? Has it only been a half an hour? God, this feels like it's been 3 hours. Good Lord. All right, go ahead, sir. You're up. I'm going to take my shirt off here in a second. Yeah. Yeah, let me try that. Yeah, that would be better.
Take.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Dennis Britt, lot 1446. I just have a specific question about the role of the water company and YLOA and the interaction between the two entities. Your views, I don't know that you have views today, but I'm sure you will, as you get your arms wrapped around the community. YLOA owns the water company. YSPUC represents a significant asset on the balance sheet of YLOA. It is a significant and material part of YLOA's net worth. And I would be very curious how you see the interaction for your role as general manager, executive director, whatever I can't remember what the role is.
Sure. You can call me whatever, it's all right.
Of YLOA, and how that has impact on YSPUC, has no impact on YSPUC. What do you see the interaction between the two entities?
Sure.
YLOA is contributing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to YSPUC.
Sure.
So I would really like if you could frame how you see those two entities working together. One is a subsidiary and owned by the other, and how you see them working.
So let me first say this. I have to agree with you. Obviously, the water company is a big asset for YLOA, and I know that, as my understanding is that Yosemite Lakes is the only shareholder in YSPUC. As it relates to that, I've already started selling all of your water rights, just only to places in Texas. It's fine. I'm kidding. That's going to end up on Facebook tonight. I know. It's a joke. It's a joke. All right. So the way I view it is this. I'm new to California. California is it's a different place, right? And I'm learning about the importance of water in California, right? And I'm understanding more and more what that's about. I don't manage YSPUC. I do not, Graham Manners does not have oversight over YSPUC. That only is given to the YSPUC board, and we do not have a management agreement with them. So I do not have any contractual or any other reporting relationship with them that would give me any leverage as the executive director of YLOA over YSPUC. So I'll get that out of the way. The challenge then becomes, how do I get YSPUC to better serve the people in this community if I don't have any sway, right? Any real sway over them? And I go back to the community I just managed in North Carolina. We had a water treatment plant on board, or on site. We did our own water treatment. And more so than a water plant, you can imagine that a water treatment plant, especially one with about 400,000 gallons of extra capacity in an area that is starved for wastewater capacity, that gets very valuable in the area, right? And so the primary goal of the homeowners association the entire time I worked there was to block the wastewater company from bringing in more wastewater clients because they did not want more wastewater flowing into their association, right? That creates a very strained relationship between the association and the utility company, right? Because the utility company says, well, how do I make money? By getting more customers. And every time I want more customers, you're saying, no, we don't want you to get more customers, and you block it. Makes a strained relationship. When I got there, they all hated each other. Nobody liked each other. The HOA was suing the wastewater company. It was all a mess. By the time I left, we still didn't have a contractual relationship, but we were all able to work together, right? And that's because I don't manage from silo. I don't manage from behind a desk. I don't hide in my office while scary things happen downstairs. We address these things, right? We deal with them. And so my my relationship with YSPUC is going to be to try to hold them accountable the same way I do with everybody else. I hold myself accountable. I hold my staff accountable. I think accountability is the word that, I've been really preaching with my team more than anything else is accountability. I'm going to try to do the same thing with YSPUC. How I do that is different. But then again, when you manage a team of 80 people, how you do it is different. Some people need a hammer. Some people need a satin glove, right? You just have to figure out what people need. And so I think when it comes to YSPUC, I don't have the answers. I know there are things we need to do better. And I'm committed to working with the YSPUC board and anybody on that side to make sure that whatever support I can give as the executive director of YLOA, we do. And I think protecting YSPUC for the people of YLOA is probably, one of the more primary responsibilities here is protecting the water source for YLOA. So,
Do you see that YLOA board, as the sole shareholder of YSPUC, as owner, has authority over the water company? So they're not two disinterested parties. They're not two separate. There is a link of ownership there that implies that there is some influence, there's some sway, leverage that YLOA can bring to the table. Is that something that you see as well?
I mean, I don't think I have enough of an opinion on it right now to form or enough information maybe to form an opinion on it. I'm still learning about all those, the way all those things interact and the way everything goes together. What I would say is that this is similar to, I was in another community where I managed, in Texas, they have what they call public improvement districts, which are basically how developers fund big development projects, and then the city owns the space, but it's funded with public dollars. It's a whole thing, or with tax dollars. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I used to have to go and present my budget to city council and do all that kind of stuff, right? And so it was a completely different entity, but all the same group paid into both entities, and they both had the same board, right? And so I know there's a lot of carryover between the two. And the word that I've used when looking specifically at the financials between the two, which was challenging, is that, I've said this word, and I know I'm going to get, but it's the only word I can think of. Maybe somebody else can throw out a better one, but the word I keep coming back to is incestuous, right? It's all tied in together. It's impossible to really separate the two, right? And so we have to find a way to make it work. And I think that's the number one thing I want to make sure that our relationship helps. That's the thing. I'm not here to do the job. I'm not here to be the water guy. I'm not here to be the compliance guy. Right. I'm not here to be the guy who manages the fairway. I'm not here to be the guy who manages the golf cart or the golf course. I'm here to make everybody's jobs easier to do, right? My job is to find solutions so that everybody can do their jobs more effectively. And that's what I want to do with the water company, the same as I do for everybody else. They are a partner. I need to work with them as a partner. They need to work with me as a partner. And I think as long as we treat each other with respect, then we'll be able to find the solutions that work best for YLOA.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Yes, sir. Come on back up. Yeah.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
I've been here about 6 years. And when I moved here, one thing that struck me is at the entrance to YLP, near one of the commercial areas, there was a big sign, faded, from a previous candidate for a board. And he says, "Vote for me, I'll be cheap with your money." And that's what happened for years and years and years and years, and our reserves were never funded, which put us in a real hole. And I think I speak for a lot of people here that I hope that you're really a strong advocate of making sure that we fund our reserves as legally required. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So let me just say this. I don't think that there are too many more things that the association can do than to prepare for the future that are more important. And, the reality is that if our reserves aren't properly funded, if we're not maintaining those levels, if we're unable to repair things, if the pool falls into the ground one day, our decision becomes, do we build a new pool with our reserve funds, or do we do a special assessment for $5,000 and everybody to rebuild the pool, right? Again, we're not doing that. I'm just saying I'm not doing that. But my point is that reserve funding is incredibly important to me. In fact, we just did a new procurement policy for the board, and the board and I worked out a new procurement policy to help move some projects along. And one of the things that we did put in there for our cash management was that besides our budgeted reserve contributions, it's now in our cash management policy that our net profit and loss from the previous year will not be used to reduce next year's burden. That profit and loss will go into the reserve, and we will start each year as a new year, and so that way we can save more effectively. And so we've already gotten that first policy in place on saving the audited profit to the reserve accounts each year. Yes?
Just me again.
Yeah.
So I was looking for some maybe personal, what was your personal reason for coming across the country to manage an association? You've given a little bit of history. Maybe you've been in Texas, maybe North Carolina. I don't know where all you have managed HOAs. Maybe you could share some of that. And what was your encouragement to come here to fix us?
I'm sorry. Can I get some water, Stephanie? Somebody? I'm dying. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. Okay, so let me start with this. So when I was, thank you so much. What's your name, sir? Arlen? Yes. Arlen, you don't have to pay your assessments next month. Congratulations. I'm kidding. I don't have the power to do that. I don't have the. Okay. All right. Well, I'll get you next month. All right. So what I'll say is this. When I graduated college, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and so I went out and worked on a cruise ship, right? It was a very weird and different and unique career choice. I thought I would do it for 6 months, and then I'd go get a real job. 12 years later, I retired from, life on ships, right? I traveled the world. I saw places. My wife's from Philadelphia, and so when we met, I was from Texas, she was from Philly. We didn't know what else to do. We didn't want to be apart, but I sure wasn't living in Philadelphia. And she said she wasn't living in Texas either, but I won. And so anyway, but she was not happy. That's why I went to North Carolina. But yeah, so we ended up in Texas. I don't like to be bored, right? I like to be challenged. I like to have an adventure. Status quo. I started working government when I first got off cruise ships, and it bored me to death. And I did it for about 8 months, and I got into the private sector then at that point back again. And so I needed I'm excited for the challenge. It was an opportunity that felt like a really great opportunity for me and my family. Obviously, it was a good financial opportunity for us to where we were in North Carolina. I mean, things cost more in California than they do in North Carolina, but it's fine. I think our biggest thing is we came out to visit the area. So this was before I took the job. So I'd interviewed with the board on Zoom, and I came out to look at the area and see everything, and we just really loved it. We just loved the place. We loved the area. We loved being this close to Yosemite, the mountains, and we did drive around the community, and my wife looked over at me and she said, "I know you." She said, "This is not a 2-year plan." She said, "This is a 3 to 5 year plan." And I said, "You're right. It is a 3 to 5 year plan." And on the way home, we decided we were going to take the job, and she's going to come with me. My daughter is, like I said, she turns 5. So my geographic mobility window is shrinking now that my daughter's getting into that age group. And so this may be where we end up, pitching tents. That's not right. Setting up shop, tent, and whatever. You get it. This is where we might live forever. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But no, I was excited about it. I was excited about the job. And one of the things that I'll be doing later this year, well, actually in May, is I will be going to the national CAI. CAI is the Community Associations Institute. They're the people who do all of our designations. So I'm going in May to the CAI conference, and I'm going to get I'll have a chance to earn what they call a PCAM, which is like the highest designation that you can earn in this industry, essentially. And so it just seemed like a good opportunity, a chance to kind of stretch and to test my chops a little bit. And it's going to be a test, but I'm committed to getting the job done and doing it right. And that's the one thing I'll tell people is, change doesn't happen overnight, right? I mean, it didn't. I mean, you look at YLP and the thing I always say to people is, and it's never trying to bash anybody who's before me. What I'm trying to say is, if I get brought in, I didn't get brought in because everybody was like, man, things are going awesome. Let's change it all up and bring in somebody new, right? This is the 4th consecutive community where I've been the first manager in after the previous manager's either been fired or a new management company's been hired. I am used to these types of situations, and so Grand Manors needed somebody who had this type of experience, and I did. They called me, and when the hiring manager called me, she said, "Hey, I'm interested to know if you'd be interested in talking about a job in California and what it would take to get you to California." And I said, no word of a lie, I said enough to pay a divorce attorney, and. So apparently it's enough, but she didn't divorce me. She was actually okay with it. She wanted to go. So my mother-in-law retires July 1st, and so my mother-in-law is retired. My mom is going to come with us. I'm an only child, so my daughter's an only child. So only child of an only child, grandma's not going to be more than like 10 feet away from that kid her whole life, right? So she's coming with us, and we're all going to just try to make a life out here and see how it goes. So, I mean, not at YLP. I'm not going to live at YLP. It's lovely. I wish I could, but I'm not. Yes, sir.
John Breyer, lot 1273. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Sean.
John.
John, I'm sorry. Thank you, John.
Okay. No problem. One of the things that, and I'm glad to hear that you've come into other situations, and what's very interesting in these types of transitions is what's the definition of success. And there was a lot of discussion about that at the time of the contract being awarded, and there was a statement said that we were going to have a set of goals that were going to be made with timelines on it and such like that. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't know if it's ever been produced. And irrespective of whether we've done it before, what would you outline as what success looks like in terms of this transition?
Sure. So let me first say this. Success is a moving target. It is a journey. It is not a destination, right? And I know that is cliche, but it is true. There is never going to be a snapshot in history when YLP is perfect. That's just a fact. There's always going to be something in this community that somebody can be unhappy about. We'll never make it perfect. So if you expect perfection, you can't do that, right? But what we can do is we can move the community forward and show the community a year from now or 2 years from now or 5 years from now where you've been, right? And so what I did at the last community that I managed, we came up with a strategic plan. And it took several months, about 6 or 8 months. We did a lot of, we called them listening sessions with homeowners and things like that. It was a very intense process, but we put it together, and we put together a strategic plan based on what we felt like the community wants. And then every year when the new board of directors gets elected, they review the strategic plan and say, okay, we've made progress on these goals, or we had this for 26, we want to move it to 24, we had this in 25, we want to move to, that kind of thing, right? It happens every year. And so I think that the number one thing that I'm going to do to help us see success is we need to start memorializing and start showing the work that's done, right? People need to see the work that happens. People need to see things getting better. They need to have more positive experiences. I go back to the thing that always comes up, and it's the thing I told the staff, and I mentioned it before with Jim Collins, and one of the things that guy always talks about is one of the big concepts is it's the doom loop and the flywheel, right? And so a flywheel is just small little things, and it starts going, and it starts going, and you start doing little things right. And that's what I told my team is we're not going to fix everything today, but we can start doing things right today. We can start doing everything that we do today, we can do it right. And tomorrow we can do the same thing. And we'll start to build momentum. It'll start to be positive. And then, then it comes to setting goals, right? And that's really the next step is once we start to get that positive energy, I'm not going to have time to put together a strategic plan before we get into the first budget. That's going to happen regardless. So by the time we get to our next budget, my goal is to have a strategic plan in place for the community. We have short-term goals, 30-day goals that I work on with the board, 60-day goals, 90-day goals. There are long-term goals. One of the tools that I'll be putting together for the budget this year is a 5-year budget that I'm going to be putting together for YLP, because I want to be able to plan, as I said, it's if in case I get hit by a bus, right? If I get hit by a bus, I don't want the next guy to come in and go, well, what are we doing in 28? Well, here's a whole map. I've given you a roadmap for it. You don't have to do that, right? And so each year when we budget, we'll set goals. Do we hit those goals? Are we maintaining the amenities? Are we providing better service? Are we, we have metrics on the amount of calls and emails and things like that. Are we fixing the things that need to be fixed? Are we consistently putting out a financial every month that shows where the association is? Are we effectively deploying resources? 6 months from now, 8 months from now, the new board is going to have something to determine. They're going to figure out if they want to let this contract go away or if they want to let it evergreen into another year. Sterling Davis says 1-year contract, so I came over on a 1-year contract. Hopefully success for me looks like getting at least 1 more year to have a full year to really show off what we can do here. But success to me is happy homeowners. Success to me is a happy staff. Success to me is amenities that look and work like you want them to. Those are the things that I think are success to me, right? And so I don't have specific goals yet, but I do think it's important when we get to that planning stage to put those specific goals in place. And I think that those goals, that strategic plan, should be something that is publicly available so people can see, what are we doing? What are we saving for? What are we going? Hey, why didn't we do thing X this year? Well, because we're doing thing Y next year. And so people need to know that, right? One of the big things that you'll find from me as an executive, as a manager, is that I try my best to provide copious amounts of information, because in the absence of information, misinformation fills the void a lot of times, right? And so I try really hard to put out as much information as we can. Owners who are in the know, owners who feel respected, owners who are happy, owners who feel like their dollars are well spent. Those are all what success looks like to me. That helps.
Great. One second question. Can you provide some clarity behind what we have great opportunity to have Beth Case come and be our Beth Hatch. Beth Hatch to be our community manager. What is the community manager's role relative to yours and relative to other department heads?
Right. So the question of what does Beth do and what do I do? So Beth, I'm Beth's supervisor. Beth is the person who holds all of this together with tinfoil and bubble gum. She is phenomenal. In I almost said Briar Chapel, in YLP, so there's obviously the different departments. There's Blue Heron, there's Fairway, there's Roads, there's for maintenance, and so all of these departments have a department head, and so I manage each of those department heads. There's an HOA department that Beth is the head of, and so the HOA staff report to her, and then Beth reports to me, and then like the restaurant staff. The restaurant here staff would report to Cassie, and Cassie would report to me. Fairway, they report to Marty. Marty reports to me, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I fit in with everybody.
So what broader role does Beth have than just being the HOA department head?
So as the department head of the homeowners association, what broader role does she have?
Well, community manager didn't sound just like a department head.
Yeah, I mean, well, it is. So community manager is the term that people that we use in the industry, but she is, as the HOA manager, she is, if I'm ever not available, Beth is always the second in command. So I guess if that's what you're looking to clarify, yes. So Beth knows more about my goals, my thoughts on the finances, the way we're looking at the budget. She helps me with all of that. And so, for example, when I do YLOA's budget, I'll do the YLOA budget and I'll do all that with Beth. And then I'll go get with Marty and I'll do the Fairway budget. And then I'll do everybody's budgets with them. And so it's just kind of like that. But the HOA department, despite having it's probably the most leaned upon group, I would say, in terms of work product that needs to come out. Varied work product maybe is a better way to put it. Everybody else is a little bit more specialized. We're here where everybody has to kind of do a little bit of everything on the HOA side.
Are the budget workshops going to be public?
Those are just for me and the board. But and that's because it's still a draft. And so let me say this about drafts, and this is something that's going to happen a lot because, and especially for those of you that come to these meetings, right? You're going to hear me talk about a security policy or an ID policy or a reservation policy, and you're going to say, I want to see that policy, and I'm going to say no. And the reason is because that policy isn't finished yet, right? It's a draft. The budget, it's a draft. And so until things are final, I do my very best to keep them from getting out into the sphere. Now, once it's because, only for misinformation, I'm not afraid to stand up in front of that budget after it's done. I'm not afraid to do that. So my point is what I will do is, besides the annual meeting where I will explain the budget and I will go through that at the annual meeting, I will also be happy to host a budget meeting for anybody who is interested in hearing and listening to the budgeting process, what we did, how I arrived at those numbers, what they are all about. Happy to do that. I feel super confident and comfortable doing that, and once the budget's been approved, it's your budget, and we should all be on the same page with it. So, hold on just a second. Let me get this young lady. Sure. Yes, ma'am. I'll try to speak up for everybody else. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Carol Lorenzini, 421.
Hi, Carol.
And I was thinking, as I was sitting there, you said about social media.
Yes, ma'am.
So many of us are on social media.
Sure.
And yes, I am with Paul. I look at all of it.
Yes, ma'am.
But it would be nice, because William puts out a great weekly.
Yes, ma'am.
If maybe you could go on that weekly and tell us what some of our accomplishments are.
It is so funny that you asked that, because that's something that William and I have been talking about. So William and I are getting together tomorrow at some point. And so one of the things that I want to start putting in the weekly newsletter is I want to start putting together a list. In other communities, I've called it like repairs, projects, and more. Basically just a bottom portion to go, here's what we did this week. We put in mulch here, and we painted this, and we replaced the mailboxes here. So I want to make sure we're going to start putting that out there so people can see what that is. Again, you know, I would say this. It's taken me probably, it's 2.5 weeks, and I still feel like I'm getting it like this, right, from YLP. So what I would say is that is my long-term goal. And what you'll find is that some of the things that I can't implement everything I want right away, but I totally agree with you. I think that's a simple thing to do, and that's something that we're going to talk about with William. And then at the annual meeting then, what it allows me to do at the annual meeting, and I do this at every annual meeting, is I go back and I say, hey, here's the year in review. Look at all that happened. And look at how this looked then and how it looks now and what we did here and how we say this. And so it is important, not in a, I feel like Garrett Morris on Saturday Night Live. It's important.
Well, I think it's very important because, I mean, you see there's just this many people here now.
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have almost 2,000 homes. And a lot of people are much older. But William putting out that weekly has been a great idea. And I think a lot of people, because they're not able to come, they're sitting at home, they read that weekly. And so it would be nice to, as you said, to put that in for them.
Yes, ma'am. I fully agree with you.
And I have one other question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to continue our Friday nights music out in the gazebo area?
No, I am the anti-fun guy, so no more fun by anybody. We're closing it all down. I've been putting I got big yellow X's out on the front that are coming. Don't worry. We'll be, of course, yeah. So, you know, one of the things that I think is really important in a community, and one of the things that I believe in because I came from this side of the business, I believe events and activities that the HOA does for its homeowners are really, really important, right? And so I am a firm believer in putting on events and activities by the association that enrich the lives of the people in the community.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right, very good. All right. So yeah, we've got lots of fun stuff coming up, and hopefully people will come and take part in it. I have appreciated very much meeting everybody. We've got a board meeting coming up in about a half an hour. You're welcome to stick around. I'm just going to be here shaking hands and talking to folks if anybody wants to come by and say hi. Oh, hold on, one thing. Where's my phone? Does somebody have my phone? Oh, goodness gracious. I need to do something. Let me see your phone, William. Would you mind? Where's Beth? Beth, come here, Beth. They want to see you. Yeah, that's perfect. All right, come here. All right, now before I give the microphone to Beth.
No, I don't need a microphone.
First of all, how about a big round of applause for Beth Hatch, everybody? You know, I have to tell you that working with Beth has been a pleasure. She's been a true pro. She has a ton of grace under pressure, and she has been such an important person for the people on the staff in the interim. And so I'm grateful to you, and I want to say that in front of everybody here. So, all right. Now, I want to try something real quick. This is super cool. This is super cool. Now, I told you guys I used to work on cruise ships, right? This is something I used to do. Now, I used to do it with like audiences of like 2,000, but it'll work with a small audience too, trust me. All right, so let's just try this. It's going to be super simple. Everybody just stand up for me. Just stand up. You don't have to move anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. Just stand up. Just stand up. All right. Now, I want everybody to think of a number between 1 and 10. Okay, don't shout it out. That's fine. You can have, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's even, I want you to put your hands in front of you like this. Okay? If your number's odd, I want you to put your hands in front of you like this. Okay? So remember, even hands together, odd hands apart. Okay. All right, everybody hold that just for a second. All right, we're going to go with 1, 2, 3. Very good. Thank you. All right, you can have a seat. Thanks so much. Thanks. I bet my wife $20 I was going to get a standing ovation tonight. So, sorry. A long time ago, yes, ma'am. I used to do a little bit of the old soft shoe back in the day, but that's a long time ago. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go take a drink of water. Beth, if anybody has questions for Beth. Hey, okay, so. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see those who stick around for the. Oh, yes, go ahead, please.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hi.
I'm Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi. 2237. Hi, William. Pardon me? Oh, how's that?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So I just had a few questions. The HOA, is there a fee control percentage per year that we can expect, or is it random?
So let me say this. I'm not familiar enough yet with the governance. Let me say that I will tell you that whatever is in there, that, you know, whatever policies and procedures we have in place, I won't exceed that. What I will say is, and what I mentioned earlier, one of the tools that I will try to give everybody in the budget year this year is the 5-year budget, so that you can hopefully plan for increased assessment years. So like if we're going to have an increase in, say, 2027, everybody knows it's coming 2 years in advance, so they don't just get it sprung on them, right? So that's my goal with that planning, but I can't speak specifically to the percentage just yet. I'm not that comfortable with the numbers yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Another question. I've heard rumors that our wellness checks for seniors and disabled folks in our community has stopped. Is that true? And would you please reconsider that, because it's such an important part of community engagement?
Sure. And the problem is that, you know, YLP really doesn't have the insurance to allow them to be in that type of business, right? And so if somebody goes into your house, we do not have the, we're not protected when we go into your home. Like we don't work in your home, right? So like, let's say we go into your home, we try to help you, you get hurt. Now that liability falls to YLP, not to the person who tried to help you. It falls to the association employee who tried to help. Same thing with a vacation, a vacation check or something like that, right? You say, hey, I asked YLP Security Patrol to do a vacation check and my stuff got stolen, so now I want YLP to be responsible, right? So it's those kind of things. This is the challenge, and this is one of the things, I gotta find, is that still ringing? Okay, it's me, I guess. Sorry, where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought.
Vacation.
Oh, right. Okay.
Insurance.
Right. Sorry. Right. So, one of the biggest challenges that we have in this business, right, is running YLP like a corporation, but still making everybody here love coming home here, right? Because that's my challenge. I have to run YLP like a $5 million corporation. You have to love the place that you live. So how do my corporate goals and my corporate charge from the board and to protect you as stakeholders in this property, how does that interact with how you feel in the place that you live, right? And so right now, as we're adjusting services, what I would say is our offering could change in the new budget year, right? So what we're offering now and how we deploy dollars may be different. So while we may not offer a vacation check, we may be able to offer something better in the new year, right? And so I think that's kind of what we're looking at right now about how we work in the future. And I'm not saying that that's specifically with that department. That could be with any other department, whether that's, do we need a fifth maintenance guy? Or would we rather do a big event for the community 3 times a year? I don't know. Do we need new vehicles? Or would we rather hire new people? I don't know. That's all part of the budgeting process and part of what I'm going to work on with the board. So what I would say is, as services change and as things change now, remember, this is a work in progress. And so before, if you hear something bad, if you go, hey, that doesn't sound right, I want to be upset about it. It's totally fine. But give us a chance to talk about it first. Ask us about it. Hey, just say, hey, I heard this. Why are you doing this? Can I explain? Can I understand the reason why? And hopefully we can have more conversations like this. This is my goal. So the answer to your question is, I'm not sure what that looks like, but I know that we've got to find some solution. And I'm working on it.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And they respond with sensitivity and
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
My next question, or not really a question, it's just maybe, what if we were to put something like a suggestion box or a comment box out front of the clubhouse that people, just trying to think of how to disarm kind of that volatility on social media, that if people could just drop something in the box how they feel, and then you could address it, and you don't have to necessarily share it with the community, but you and the board could discuss it and just kind of check the pulse of the community that way. I mean, it could be anonymous or people could sign their name, but it's just a way of letting you know, kind of have your finger on the pulse of the community and what people are thinking and what they're happy about and what they're not happy about, kind of like a ongoing town hall.
Well, let me say this. I have an entire staff of people who are happy to be a suggestion box for you, including myself. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to listen to you. I'm not here to tell you. I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to hear your concerns. I'm here to hear your problems. I'm here to try to find solutions. And so that's what I want to get you guys to understand. There is no need. I mean, look, if we want to put a suggestion box, that's totally fine. But you know what you can do? You can call Stephanie and you can say, hey, Stephanie, can I make an appointment with Jeremy? And she'll say, yeah, how much time do you need? And she'll say, we book appointments in 15-minute increments. And you'll say, oh, I need 30 minutes. And she'll say, great, and she'll book it, and we'll have an appointment, and we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, right? Okay. So, and let me say this. Everybody wants to talk to me, which is cool, and I can help you. But sometimes it takes longer when other people can help you. So what I always want to tell you is, if I'm the only person who can solve your problem, then by all means, come to me and I will fix it. If there are other people who have more bandwidth who can solve your problem, go to them first and let them work on it for you. But I'm happy to meet with anybody. I'm happy to talk with anybody. I don't hide from anybody. I'm right here in this office. All I ask is that people make an appointment. And so if you want to give me your suggestions, you can give me your suggestions, and I'm not going to make you feel stupid, and I'm not going to make you feel bad. And I'm going to tell you either A, well, that's a great suggestion. We need to implement that. Or B, that's a challenge. Here's why. But what if we did this instead? Or C, get out of my office. No, I'm kidding. But my point is, there doesn't need to be a barrier between us. You don't need, come talk to us. We're here to help. We're here to talk to you. And that's the one thing that I want to get through everybody. And it's what I told my team. It's what I'm telling everybody here. And get the message out. I am not here to be your adversary. I am not here to be your enemy. I am not here to come into your community and tell you how things are supposed to be. It's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to help. I'm here to make your place, I'm here to help make this place better. I have a great team of people who want to help me do it. I think I have a lot of homeowners who want to help me do it. I know I have a board of directors who want to help me do it. I know there's committees who want to help me do it. And so that's all I ask, is that you just let us help. So hopefully that helps.
Sorry to take up so much time. Just a couple more things.
Oh man, I really thought that was going to get a standing O and we were going to all leave. That's fine.
Okay,
all right.
So I just wanted to let you know that we had a wonderful party in the park this year in May.
Very good.
And we really enjoyed that and think it's a wonderful community outreach and want to continue that. The kids had a wonderful time going from station to station throughout the park. So I just wanted to keep that on your radar that we love that.
Very good.
It was a huge success.
Big believer in events.
Yeah.
Don't know about party in the park, but big believer in events.
Okay,
Again,
good,
I'm not saying
good.
yes or no. I just don't know, so I don't want to give an answer one way or another.
No, well, I like your attitude.
All right, very good.
Right, yeah.
I'll be there in the May meeting, I'm sure.
So one little thing, and perhaps this is not the appropriate time. I maybe should call in the morning. There seems to be a water leak on Rivas and Yosemite Springs Parkway, a broken pipe. The water coming down.
Depending on the leak,
tomorrow.
It may be an issue I need to get to tonight, so I'll go see how much it's leaking.
Okay, so Yosemite Springs Parkway
Okay.
and Rivas
All right.
on the east side. On the east side.
Davis, can you go check the leak for us?
Yes.
See what you can see out there.
And then the only other thing I have, this is just a little small question. What are your thoughts on the sustainability of the restaurants? And it may be too soon for that, but I'm curious. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Sure. You might as well have asked if I had a solution for peace in Gaza. That may have been an easier question. So let me say this. The restaurants are a quandary, right? Because everybody loves the convenience and the service and the ability to have the restaurants. The long-term success of YLP is dependent upon us finding a new financial model for the restaurants. So understanding that is where I'm at on the restaurants. I believe that they are important. I believe that they are something that people want, almost need in this community, expect for sure. But I certainly think that it's something that we have to look at because we can't operate the way we've been operating. So. I agree. Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
last question, or we have one more after this? That's our last question. That gentleman behind you.
Real quick, Tara Great House, Lot 187.
Hey, Tara.
It's interesting she brought up the home check things because I've always felt that YLOA has been over involved in things and puts us at risk. So my question is, do you guys do like liability risk assessments to try to reduce homeowners' liabilities so we don't?
Sure. So one of the things that you're going to find by bringing in a management company that's a little bit different, and this is again part of why some of the things that get twisted, right? Because we look at things as a corporation looks at things, right? Not as like a neighborhood club or a neighborhood association might look at things. And so we have lawyers involved just like everybody else does, right? And so sometimes things come up. And what will happen is that it is my job as the agent for YLP to make sure that they know those things, that the board has that awareness, right? As I said before, the board does the theory, right? So my job, as I see it, and how I react with the board, or how I interact with the board a lot, I'll do the research, I will get all the bids, I'll meet with all the contractors, I'll put all that together for the board, and I'll make a recommendation about how I think we should move forward, right? That's kind of how I work. But ultimately, the board can do whatever the board wants to do, right? And so I think that's kind of, at the end of the day, what it comes down to. But what I do is I try to say to the board, hey, I don't think you should be doing this. And I can make a convincing case for why you shouldn't be doing this. Or, hey, I see you doing this. What I think you should be doing is this instead, and I can make a convincing case for why. So what I'll do when I talk to the board about things like that, I won't ever say to the board, you guys just need to do something. That's not helpful. I will give the board evidence and proof and projections and numbers and what I think about how we'll move things forward. So I'm saying all that to say, whether it's about liability, whether it's about our processes that we have in place for different things that we're already doing, whether that's ECC things, whether that's courtesy patrol, whether that's things we're doing with the pool, whether that's things we're doing here in this office, whether that's things we're doing with our water company or building relationships, whatever those things are, it's my job to see that liability, to call it out to the board, and then provide an alternative solution. If the board doesn't want to take my solution, that's their decision, but that's my job. Yes, sir. Last question. You're the one.
David Mahan, lot 815.
Hey, David.
Just to bring up a couple things you could put on your list as soon as they do actually get completed. We have solar on the roof. Everybody's approved it, but I've been informed that as of last week, it's not on because the contractor hasn't been paid. We also have a new roof on the barn, and that contractor has not been paid. So that could be two things that could go on your new list. So again, that's a week-old information. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
And
Okay. So we'll find. I'll look into that.
Yeah.
But to my understanding, that has been handled. But there may be a different issue. So I'm not going to say there's not.
Thank you.
So
do we know how soon the solar is going to be turned on then?
Ken, do you have a question? Do you have an answer for that?
Do we know when they're going to be turned on?
The vendor has been paid the final payment. That straightens out that.
Okay, good. Good.
And PG&E is doing their blessing tomorrow, which takes about 5 minutes for them to do, and then they will be switched on.
And they walk away, we can do it.
And
Okay,
we will
good.
be generating
Just like that.
So there's a good couple of accomplishments.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. Very good. And now we know. All right. Thank you, everybody. For those of you that stick around for the board meeting, we'll see you soon. Make sure we got our sign-in sheets. So if you're staying for the board meeting, you need to do the sign-in sheets. All right.